Chapter 21 The Academy starts. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Afia Mansion's courtyard. Sweetheart, are you ready yet? Afia hollered from downstairs, it's your first day. Azzy is also getting late for orientation. Calm down, will ya? As Oakley tried to soothe her, Avia replied from her room, 2 minutes, ma. Meanwhile, Azzy supported them, it's alright, auntie. There's still 30 minutes left. 5 minutes later, Avia came downstairs and left for school along with Azzy and Oakley. The school isn't far away and neither is the air traffic. By flying card, they reached the entrance quickly. After dropping the two of them, Oakley left for his clinic. Avia and Azzy entered the school. Take right and go straight. The orientation is in the auditorium. She quickly parted her ways with him, although she was walking in the same direction, implying they are strangers in school. Looking at her back, he mumbled, is she still angry? Works for me either way. He shrugged his shoulders and followed her. A month ago, upon Sneeka's request, Azzy helped her in training. But, since he doesn't know how to control his strength to her level, Azzy just focused on dodging to improve her attack speed. Azzy, who trained with a 7-star on a place where gravity is 44 times strong, is now focusing on dodging against a non-awakened person. What can happen? As a result, she ended up crying in frustration and holed herself in her room for a while as she wasn't able to hit him for 3 hours straight. From that day, she stopped talking to him and ignored him whenever she could. Back to the present, Azzy walked slowly, carefully, maintaining his distance from the little girl. Since he was a new face on the campus, none of the students around greeted him until he reached the entrance of the auditorium. There he saw the only person he knew on the campus. Her eyes lit up as soon as she saw him. Hello, Azrael. You are here. As a person who was used to getting greeted by even his elders, Azzy responded with a nod and then looked at the handsome man who stood beside her. Azzy wasn't able to figure out his arcana rank, but since a student at this school can't be 6-star, Azzy thought he must be a rank .5 like this pretty sister. Did you know him? Asked the boy. She replied with a wide smile, didn't I mention an exceptional genius entered the school? Ah. The one with Mr. Oakley's recommendation. The boy pointed it out in realization. His tone contains a little bit of disdain and sarcasm. Azzy frowned upon hearing his statement, but on the outside, he looked at him emotionlessly. Strangely, the girl also didn't seem inappropriate and went with introducing him, Junior Azrael, this is Leonard Light, 5th prince of this country's royal family. He's the current student council president. Azzy stared at him for a while and nodded again as if he was saying, so what? Leonard frowned at Azzy's behavior. As someone from a royal family, even the teachers talked to him with respect. Even if this kid before him doesn't consider the royal family, where's the respect towards seniors? The girl whispered in his ears, don't mind him. I looked up his info. It seems he grew up in an orphanage and being homeschooled until now. 3 months ago, he was adopted by the divine physician. At first, he was indeed taken aback upon hearing this as the adopted son of Oakley, but, still, he cannot lose his face like this. So, he directly confronted him about it. Junior, you are supposed to greet a senior when you meet them. Azzy still hasn't responded and kept silent, staring at him. The students who are entering the auditorium glanced at both of them before murmuring between themselves as they walked through the door, embarrassing him even further. The girl saw his veins popped on his hands. She quickly called him, Azrael. Upon her probing, he came back to his senses. Oh. I'm just wondering, why a prince like him is studying at a backward school like this. I heard that the royal family will be invited to the Heavenly Academy of Arcana. Anyway, nice meeting you. I'll get going. As he left, the girl mumbled, so, he can talk, huh? I thought he was too shy to talk. Zona. A low growl escaped from his prince, whose pride has been hurt further by Azzy's remark. Oops. The girl realized her mistake and kept silent, continuing to greet the students entering the auditorium. Meanwhile, Azzy found an empty seat in the grade point 8 section. Just as he has taken his seat, a person who was walking behind him sat beside Azzy. Azzy saw a familiar-looking boy, who took his seat. He's a boy, shorter than him by a head, and wore round glasses. His pupils are grayish-green and have thick eyelashes, a trait unique to a Crescent clan. He didn't know the name, but he had seen him numerous times at the Violet Pavilion. He was sitting thousands of miles away from the Death Clan, and yet, of all people, he sat beside a Crescent family member. At that instant, Azzy once again thought about Kronos' words about the fate leading him to somewhere. The boy was also taken aback upon seeing Azzy, although for a different reason. As a person who was born with 160 IQ, he instantly figured out that Azzy was an exchange student in their grade. But, he was only 99% sure. To confirm the remaining 1%, he greeted, "Hello, are you a new student of grade point 8? Azzy nodded in response. "I'm Gideon." He introduced himself. "Azrael," replied Azzy. Azzy wondered why Gideon hasn't mentioned the surname. All of their clans are registered as Fryless Nation's noble clans. They are allowed to speak unless this isn't an enemy nation. Since Azzy doesn't know the diplomatic relations between countries, he thought it might be an enemy country. But, if that's the case, then, why he is attending here instead of Fryless Academy? Azzy fell into confusion. "So, where are you from?" asked Gideon, bringing him back to reality. Azzy replied, "Southern Kudur." "No, I don't mean that. I mean, from what academy you transferred from?" Gideon asked. "Oh. I'm homeschooled." Azzy's reply surprised him. Their conversation was interrupted by the lights suddenly going off and was centered at the platform. An old man appeared in their view and silence ensued in the hall. He is tall, slim with wrinkles all over his face. He was escorted by a young man and a young woman in their 20s on either side. Azzy thought he must be at least rank .7, but Gideon's words surprised him. "This is our principal, Barton Everglade, a peak 7-star Arcana Master. I heard that he's at the edge of becoming rank .8. Can you believe that? A backward nation like this will have a rank .8. In our day." He suddenly stops talking, realizing his mistake of almost blurting out. He quickly tried to divert Azzy with, "Look. It's almost starting." Azzy, who already knew what he was trying to say earlier, pretended that he didn't hear him and placed his attention on the old man. Chapter 22 Orientation Part. 1 You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Welcome to another year at Aclean Academy of Arcana. To those who are here for the first time, let me introduce myself. I'm Barton Everglade, a rank .7 Arcana Master and currently working as the principal of this academy. Now, for the next few years, you are going to spend your time with us. So, let me first remind you of a few points before we move on to the main topic. All the grades have the same regime. Every grade is divided into 5 divisions. S. Elite Division, Soul.Beast Division, B. Soul.Weapon Division, C. Soul.Plant Division, and E. Dropouts. As you can all imagine, Class S will always be provided with the best resources, best training program, etc. On the other hand, Class E can drop out of the program at any time and will be more focused on normal education. One would be given a fair amount of chances to prove themselves in a year. If you can't grasp it, then, it's on you. Upon hearing the very first point, Azzy was taken aback and thought, this orientation is a little bit different from what I heard it to be. Is it because it was changed 27 years later? Barton continued, the classes were usually decided based on the rankings of the annual competition. But for those new seedlings as well as the transfer students, your classes will be assigned based on your scores on the starting day. That means, after this ends, all of you should gather at the training grounds .5, where the teachers will test your capabilities. So, don't forget it. Gideon Crescent glanced at Azzy, who was listening to Barton's lecture with a straight face as if he already knew it. Now, the next point. More than strength, our academy values discipline. No matter how talented you are, or how big of a background you have, you will be equally punished once you were caught breaking the rules. If you are bullied or have grudges, you can lodge an official complaint at the student council or with the homeroom teacher. If you can't forget the grudges, you can initiate official combat at the arena. The challenger will be notified but with a condition that she must equal or greater rank than yours. Monthly and annual competitions aren't only for moving up classes, they also have rewards, namely in credits, rare cards, etc. There are also national tournaments, international tournaments, and the World League. They were also your chances to prove yourselves and move up the division along with extra rewards. Last year, our top student, Rigel, reached 31st rank in the World League and 6 students got into the top 500. So, for this year, let's aim even higher. Everyone clapped for a few seconds before the old man continued. Today, I'll be giving my insights about a very basic thing that most of the people ignore and chase after improving their strength. It's the connection between the spirit of arcana and soul. Everyone went silent and listened to him in silence. Azzy also got interested to know about the spirit world. Now, everyone must have known arcana spirits come from the spirit world, a realm of immortality. But, what everyone ignores is that once this human body fails to function, our soul leaves the body and guess where it ends up at. Azzy's heart skipped a beat for a second. Barton nodded, looking at the expressions of students. Yes, they will end up at spirit world. Neither at netherworld of hell nor the celestial world of heaven. Suddenly, a hand rose in the air. Yes. Barton pointed towards its direction. Azzy thought he was pointing to him. Just as he was about to respond, he saw the boy sitting beside him, stood up and asked, "Sir, if all our souls also end up at spirit world, then, where does arcana spirits go? Will they follow us or will they disappear as soon as we die? What's your name?" Barton responded to him with a question. "It's Gideon, sir." He replied. "Good question, Gideon." Barton nodded and explained, "You see, the answer is quite simple. I bet most of you must have known about the formation of soul card, right? Aside from the 6-year, 7-year, and 8-year-olds, everyone nodded in response. Just like how 2 arcana spirits fight over the soul card, when one's lifespan is over, the soul of our body will be released something like an invisible ball of light as it entered the spirit world. The arcana spirit and your own soul that departs as one will try to devour each other. Both of them will only act nothing but pure instincts. It's like a tug of war. Now, who wins the end depends on your rank by the time you are departed. The higher your rank, the easier for your soul to absorb its power, and when the soul is reincarnated, the arcana spirit also reincarnates within him, her again. The lower your rank, the easier for you to get devoured. Of course, the more powerful your arcana spirit, the easier is to get devoured too. Barton then suddenly stopped and looked at everyone's expressions. This is the stuff you normally only get to read, only in higher studies. Even to those who lived for more than 500 years, it's pretty scary to hear that your soul might be devoured by your own arcana even if you are the besties in your life. One can expect their reactions. Barton's words incited 4 types of reactions on these students. First is a confident look that they can come out on top at the end. Second is a fearful look, losing out their confidence, especially the little kids who have just begun their journey. The third is a confused look, who didn't understand a single of what he's saying. It's mostly 6 and 7-year-olds. The fourth is a calm and composed look. No, it's more like a blank look as if I don't care. Only one such person has that kind of look, who was sitting in a corner. Barton, as a rank .7, of course, he didn't miss this. As he felt a gaze on him. But, his actions didn't change nonetheless as he was busy figuring out the mystery behind his arcana. So, if it goes as he says, that means, 100% chance that Vajra might have devoured his host. Then, what about Kronos? I mean, even if the founder is a rank point 10, it's not possible to devour a god. But if he did it, then, I might be the reincarnation of the founder. It sounds ridiculous no matter how I think about it. As he felt worried that he might be wrong and get devoured in the future, but his face was still emotionless. Barton stared at him for a couple of seconds, not able to understand what this student is thinking. Then, he continued, either way, they will become stronger. If the soul wins, he will be reincarnated with Arcana spirit, and if the latter wins, then, it will become much stronger and the new host will have more potential to reach a higher rank. A grade .5 student suddenly raises her hands. Sir, what about normal people? Well, it's easy, isn't it? Normal people don't have anything that tries to devour their souls. So, they happily reincarnate without any issue. Then, a boy from grade .10 raised his hand. Sir, earlier, you mentioned that the souls as well as the spirits stay in the spirit world together. Is it possible after devouring Arcana spirit, a human soul can acquire their powers and reincarnate with those powers, instead of splitting? Everyone turned their eyes toward him, wondering whether he's crazy. Chapter 23 Orientation Part. 2 You are listening at NovelFull.audio. When the boy asked whether it's possible for a human to acquire the powers of Arcana and then reincarnate with inbuilt powers, every student turned their heads towards his direction, wondering whether he's crazy. Especially those from higher grades. While lower grade students thought it might be an interesting idea, the higher grade students didn't think it's possible since there's no such person that's ever existed in history who can display their powers before the age of 8 or without a soul card. But, Barton's reply surprised them. Yes. It is possible. Leonard Light, the student council president, quickly asked the principal, but sir, our textbooks say that a soul card and a soul orb exist for a reason. They are also the limiters so that the human body can sustain power. If there's no limiter, then, the cells in the human body will destabilize at atomic levels and the body will cease to exist. Several scientists tried experimenting on removing the limiter, and all the results turned out to be the same. Mr. Light, you are forgetting one important thing. Humans aren't alone in this world. That theory only holds true for humans. However, it is different for demi-humans, who were born from angels or elves. Upon hearing him out, the lower grade students went into a daze. They felt as if a door is open to a new world. However, the new students also felt overwhelmed with this information. On the other hand, the upper grade students are a little skeptical to believe this nonsense of angels and elves, demi-humans or so whatever. There was no proof and it is just a myth. But, Leonard, who was from the royal family, knew their existence. So, he didn't point it out. The rest of them also kept silent as it would do no good to speak against the principal. The old man continued after introducing the existence of other races living in the human world. Well, actually, the theory isn't complicated. Forget about those myths, the monsters at the Arcana world are the perfect examples. They are souls that have reincarnated with the power of Arcana. But, if you really just want to consider a pure human, then, unless the person is a child of 2 rank .10s, it's impossible. Okay, any other questions? Even though his explanation made many students doubting their lives, it didn't stop some to ask their queries. A boy in grade .7 stood up and asked, Sir, can a human soul reincarnate as an Arcana? That's absurd. All the students in the auditorium had the same thought, even including Azzy. It's not because everyone thought it's impossible, but they can't bear to accept that forget about whether they survive or not, even if they survive, there's a possibility they end up as other people's Arcana. They can accept if they were devoured. They can even accept if they were to reborn as a monster. But, reincarnating as Arcana and become a tool of another human. That's disgusting. After all, as Arcana masters, they too were using Arcana. Everyone shuddered at that thought. So they hoped the principal to quickly shut that doubt away. The principal and the boy in question felt a lot of gazes on them. At first, he wanted to answer it honestly, but the earlier question's response made Barton think otherwise. He shook his head with a smile. Maybe, it can be possible, or maybe, it can be impossible. It is something you have to figure out yourselves. Perhaps, only a rank .9 Arcana Master can give a definite answer to that. But, it doesn't matter. Even if you reincarnate, you or the Arcana Spirit won't remember your past. What matters is this life. You set a goal, train diligently, grow stronger, outlive your peers, and search for treasures, to increase your lifespan further, increasing your rank. As long as you live longer, answers can be found along the way. Suddenly, a bell rang at all the school buildings simultaneously. Even Azzy, a rank .4, was able to listen to the sound, much less a rank .7 like Barton. He looked at his watch and exclaimed, "Oh! It's already been 9. Students, all of you may go to your class and start the first day of this academic year. Meanwhile, new students don't forget to be at training grounds .5. Are you a 4-star? All of a sudden, Gideon asked Azzy, who stood up along with the students. Looking at this peak rank .3, Azzy nodded. I knew it. Gideon smiled in realization. No wonder I can't sense your Arcana rank. Anyway, I can see that you will get it into the elite division. Don't hold back with the instructor, by the way. The more potential you expose, the more resources and protection you will receive. Good luck. Azzy once again nodded, wondering whether all the members of the Crescent clan are chatterboxes. Still, he felt grateful for his reminder. One by one, the students left the auditorium to their classes, and as Azzy stepped out, he saw the new students gathered by Zona, on the side. She quickly spotted him while he was thinking of going on his own. Azrael. You are also going to the training grounds, right? Can you please wait here? Although he wanted to say no thanks, thinking that it would be too rude, Azzy simply walked a few steps to stand beside her, along with little kids. Azzy felt gazes from all the sides, first from the kids, second, from other students who are passing by, especially upper grades that are curious about this new handsome with rank .4 strength. Rank .4 is the position where a mortal increases his lifespan to 200 years. So, in a school like this, they are always the center of attention. And Azzy, who was used to this kind of situation, calmly waited until everyone gathered. He saw, other than himself, there are 2 more transfer students, but their strength is too weak for him to consider. So, he ignored them. After a while, under Zona's lead, 47 of them reached the training grounds. 5. The training grounds 5 is but a simple barren land surrounded by huge walls over 20 meters in height. Maybe, it's just for beginners. As he thought upon the first glance, as there are hardly dents in the grounds or the walls. There are little traces of battle, which says either they repair it recently or the usual spars aren't that great. It isn't that impressive since even the ground isn't that even. However, everyone's eyes are on one person. He's a tall, muscular, bald man meditating in the air, 3 feet above the ground. One look at his head, they would feel that it was shining from the rays of the sun. Wow, some of the students exclaimed in surprise as they were able to get to see a person floating in the air without the use of any flying card. Teacher Herman, the new students are here, Zona spoke to him in a respectful tone. He opens his eyes and they land on Azzy, first. A smile appeared on his lips as he mumbled, a high rank .4 student, Looks like he's around 12.13. Now, that's interesting. You, over there. What's your name and grade? Without any introduction, he directly pointed towards Azzy. Azzy pointed to himself, whether he was talking about him. Yes, you. The one in blue checks. Everyone was taken aback by this teacher's behavior. Meanwhile, Zona bitterly smiled. Azzy replied in a neutral tone, Azrael, 12-years-old and enrolled into grade point 8. His behavior and the emotionless made the instructor frown in response. The new students are also surprised as Azzy didn't even greet him first before answering. Where are his manners? It's not that Azzy doesn't want to greet him. It's just that other than the clan head, clan leaders, his master, and grandpa, he never greeted anyone first. On the contrary, Azzy was the one who was always greeted first, no matter how old or powerful the other party is. Okay, let's start the assessment with you, first. Come forward. Azzy walked forward and stood before him, a few meters apart. Everyone, back off a bit, Zona warned everyone before moving back so that they won't be caught in the spar. Looking at him, the instructor said, "Summon your arcana." Azzy nodded and summoned the soul card. With a thought, he summoned the wolf without summoning the death scythe and the hourglass to hide his identity. Gur the black wolf with black sparkles all over its body growled at its enemy, baring its fangs. Upon one glance both the instructor and Zona took a step back with a gasp. This arcana's intensity is off the charts. While the latter thought it was a high-level gold grade, the 6-star instructor realized that it gives off the same intensity of a certain arcana he experienced back in the World League. No doubt about it. It is the platinum grade. While Zona was still in a daze, the instructor calmed down quickly, concluding this boy has the right to be arrogant. His earlier impression of the boy disappeared and excitement grew in his heart to see the soul skills of this arcana, directly. He then summoned his soul card followed by the appearance of a giant earth golem that appeared before him. He will be your opponent. I will also control his strength to rank point 4. Just attack however you wish. Azzy stared at the golem for a while before glancing at the wolf. He suddenly crouched down to its size and asked, "Vajra, do you have any soul skills?" Zona and the instructor were taken aback once again and mumbled at the same time, "He's a beginner." Chapter 24 Division Allotment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Student Azrael. The instructor called out to Azzy, who crouched down to ask Vajra whether it knows the soul skills. He looked at the instructor. "Let me ask you something. Didn't your previous school teach how to use soul skill?" The instructor asked him. Azzy replied, "I'm homeschooled." The instructor then asked, "What about your parents?" "I grew up in an orphanage." Azzy's reply stunned the instructor. He thought, an orphan, homeschooled, and yet, his soul power is this high. Even if his arcana is a platinum grade spirit, it's impossible to rise this much without killing the monsters in the wild. "So, you don't know how to use soul skill," Herman said with a hint of disappointment in his voice. Azzy nodded, implying yes. Just then, the wolf barked towards him. Upon hearing Vajra, Azzy quickly changed his stance, "But my arcana says, it knew how to battle and use soul skill on its own." His reply clearly surprised Herman as well as Zona. She mumbled, "So, he's a summoner." No wonder. Summoners are the people who let their arcana do their work. The advantage of such a profession is that arcana can train in the mindscape on their own and have the innate ability to use soul skills. During the battle, such arcana is also independent of its host. This feature is like a double-edged sword though. The disadvantage is that the summoner won't get a soul skill on his own. So, he's pretty much useless in battle and often be the first one to be targeted. To avoid this, they have no choice but to stock up the skill cards. This way, they can not only survive but also can support their arcana as well as their teammates from a distance. But, right now, Herman didn't care about that. In his mind, there's the only thing. To experience the soul skills of extremely rare platinum-grade arcana's abilities. Okay, then, as I've said, I'm restricting the strength of my Didier to rank 4. The golem stepped forward and stood like a statue. Vajra got angered as if it got humiliated by his words. Azzy felt his rage through his connection. Gur the black wolf growled as it looked at its enemy while the black lightning sparks on its body increased for a moment before it disappeared all of a sudden. The kids were shocked. Zona was stupefied along with them, not believing her eyes. The instructor stood there in a daze before he slowly turned his head towards the golem. What the? Even Azzy can't help but almost cursed out as he saw the wolf already reached behind the golem as if it was teleported. Meanwhile, there's a big hole in the middle of the golem's chest. Thud, it fell on its back and died. The whole training ground is silent as Vajra slowly returning towards Azzy. HMPF. Azzy felt like the wolf snorted as it passed the golem's dead body and returned to Azzy. Didier. The instructor screamed as he ran towards the golem. He quickly unsummoned it back to the soul card, so that it can revive later. Even though an arcana spirit is immortal and can't die until its host dies, depending on its grade, the revival time will vary. According to everyone's knowledge, arcana spirits are divided into 7 grades. White, red, blue, silver, purple, gold, and platinum. Naturally, a monster of higher grade is a number of times stronger than a lower grade. For example, if the combat strength of white grade spirit is 1. Then, red grade spirit will be 2, the blue grade spirit will be 4, the silver grade spirit will be 8, the purple grade spirit will be 20, the gold grade spirit will be 50, and the platinum grade spirit will be 200. That means if the hosts aren't involved and only the arcana are battling on their own, a lower-ranked platinum grade arcana will sweep the upper ranked white grade with ease, although it depends on the difference between their ranks. And there are also other things to consider like differences between soul skills, techniques, battle experience, etc. There are a number of ways a lower grade arcana can defeat a higher grade arcana, but under the same circumstances, the latter always triumphs over the former. Vajra is an arcana spirit that used to be the weapon of the king of the celestial world of heaven. Something that a god used to wield. With Proto's energy combined, its strength only becomes higher. So, it's safe to say that even if a golem still has rank 0.6, a silver grade isn't a match for Vajra that transcends the platinum grade. The most common grade one can see is the silver or blue grade. Purple grade arcana spirits are attention worthy. Gold grade spirits are favored everywhere. As for platinum, only a son/daughter of heaven will possess them. While the wolf barked towards Azzy and wagged its tail like a dog yearning for praise. Azzy crouched down and stroked its fur. Good job. Vajra disappeared into the soul card. Meanwhile, taking back the arcana into his soul card, the instructor pointed his finger at the wolf. His finger is shaking as he said, "Your arcana is of platinum grade. What is its name?" "I call it Vajra," Azzy replied to him in a calm tone, implying that it is a nickname. The same name as the top 3rd arcana spirit. Good. Despite losing his face in front of the kids, he didn't feel embarrassed but instead, he was excited to see a platinum grade arcana from up close. "I give you full marks. No doubt, you are selected for the elite division. I hope to see you at the World League, soon." Herman shook hands with Azzy and told him to join Zona and the rest of them. As Azzy returned to the group, he felt everyone's gazes on him. Most of them are filled with envy while the rest of them are filled with admiration. A platinum grade spirit, huh? It's my first time seeing such a thing in person. I wonder how Leo will react if hears this. She can't help but grin upon remembering that prince's expression. Meanwhile, the instructor called the other 2 transfer students one by one. Since it will take several days for his arcana to revive and heal, he asked them to perform their attacks directly towards him. Since they are nothing but peak 2-star ranks, they were easily handled in a spar and received low scores simultaneously, allotting them into dropout division in their respective grades. After scoring the 3 transfer students, the instructor then took out a gold-colored card and placed it on the ground before pouring his soul power into it. It shined for a while and a digital machine appeared before them. It kinda looked like a scoring machine in arcade games except that it was a blank screen. As he saw, there's even an insert option. Pointing at it, he said, "This is a gold-grade analyzing machine. All you have to do is to insert your soul card and the data will be displayed on the screen. This machine can display the exact amount of your soul power, the innate potential of the soul card, and the grade of your arcana spirit. Since you are just rank .1 beginners, everyone's score will be decided by this method. Form a line, everyone. Except for Zona, and the 3 transfers, everyone listened to the instructor. The first student nervously summoned the soul card and hesitated to insert it. Understanding his concern, Herman spoke, "Don't worry, not even a rank .9 can destroy or take away one's soul card." Trusting the instructor, as he inserted the soul card as one would insert in the ATM, it came out after 5 seconds. The student took back his soul card while the data is displayed on the screen. Age: 4 months soul power. 43 rank. 1 arcana spirit. Spiral platypus grade. Silver potential. Rank .6 overall score. 72". The instructor nodded calmly, "Good. You are allotted to Soul Beast Division, Class 3A. Next. You are allotted to Soul Weapon Division, Class 3B. Next, you are allotted to Dropouts Division, Class 3E. Next." If it was before, Herman would be excited to find so many talents, but now, even with a student who has a purple grade arcana, he doesn't feel excited at all. After everyone's results are over, Zona said, "Junior Azrael, don't you want to see your arcana's data?" Chapter 25 Blowing Up the Machine. You're listening at NovelFull.audio. Junior Azrael, don't you want to see your arcana's data? Azzy froze for a second since he doesn't wish for his Reaper to be discovered. He immediately rejected it. "No thanks," he replied with a straight face. Zona was taken aback by his reply. "Why? Don't need to worry, Azrael. That man-made machine can't analyze me. The very least, that machine will stop working." The Reaper's voice echoed in his head. Azzy sighed in relief. Suddenly, the instructor called out his name. As a rank .6, he heard Zona's words earlier and also thought of confirming his suspicions. "Azrael, please step forward." As long as his arcana spirit's grade is confirmed, he would inform the principal about it. "I don't think it's a good idea to do that. What if the machine can't handle it?" Azzy asked him. Because of his emotionless tone, all of them thought he was just mocking the instructor. They thought Azzy was too arrogant just because his arcana defeated the instructor's arcana in a duel. Honestly, it's just envy of these 8-year-olds making them think that Azzy was just underestimated by Herman. "It's alright. Even the platinum grade isn't a problem," Herman said to him. The instructor thought Azzy was trying to keep it secret. "Sorry kid, you can't hide it from the machine. The best way to protect oneself is to expose their strength and get protection from the government. Even the royal can't go against the government." He decided to check his potential no matter what. He thought an orphan like him need the government's backing. Azzy shrugged his shoulders and walked towards the machine. He inserted the soul card. "Poor fellow." Followed by the words, Azzy heard a deep sigh in his head. Meanwhile, along with the instructor, Zona was also expecting an extraordinary result so that she can brag to everyone that she was the one who found him first. On the other hand, Azzy thought the machine's going to stop working or will show an error. But, the next second, everyone's faces changed. Boom! All of a sudden, the machine exploded and Azzy flew back for like 5 meters and crashed onto the ground. Because of his physical training and his 4-star rank, Azzy didn't receive any injuries as a result. Meanwhile, the machine was burning up in flames and the soul card quickly returned to its owner. The kid screamed and took a couple of steps back in fear. Meanwhile, Zona covered her face with a shock. "That's a gold-grade item worth 50 million credits." Meanwhile, the instructor walked towards the flames in a daze, not believing what's just happened before him. His entire life savings gone just like that. The machine wasn't something that was given by the school, but to judge the student's potential accurately, he used all of his savings to buy it from the market. It was this machine that made him continue his post for the past 30 years. What happened? I thought it will simply stop working, Azzy wondered in his head, recalling the sigh from Kronos. Quickly, he received a reply from the Reaper: you forgot that there are 2 arcana spirits in your soul card that can't be analyzed by such a weak item. It's like trying to fit an entire mountain in a glass of water. It bound to break. Azzy was amazed to realize once again how awesome is his arcana spirit. After thinking for a second, he also felt that the result is inevitable. Herman stood there in a daze for a long time while Zona looked at him in a mixture of pity and guilt. Told you so, Azzy commented as he turned around to return to his spot. After a while, Azzy and 3 other 8-year-olds went together to the Elite Division building. They were received by a teacher, who received the reports from the instructor. I presume you are Azrael, grade .8 student. The moment they met, she talked to Azzy. Azzy nodded in response. Not bad. You have trained your physical strength to the peak. Upon one glance, she was able to find out about his physical capabilities. I work out, Azzy replied, hiding the fact that he trained at a surface with gravitational force. She nodded and then addressed everyone. Welcome to the Elite Division. I'm Amelia Light. I'm your homeroom teacher. Follow me to the reception. After their registrations are finished at the reception, she looked at her new students. The 3 of you, find the class 3A there and wait for me. Then, she looked at Azzy, you, come with me. I'll take you to your class. She walked towards the stairs. The first impression of her isn't good. First, her surname is Light, a member of the royal family and a possible relative to Leonard. Second, she abandoned her students to escort him to his class on the 2nd floor. Azzy didn't like it. Yet, he didn't complain and quietly followed her. As they were climbing the stairs, she said, frankly, I didn't expect a person of your talent appears at this school given that recommended by the divine physician, Oakley. With your rank, I'm sure you might have some doubts about whether you can learn something for this academy, then, don't need to worry about it. Our academy doesn't lack qualified teachers. They only lack geniuses like you. Azzy kept silent along the way, letting her talk on her own. It turned out that this lady is the daughter of the royal family head's 3rd wife. Leonard is her brother. Reaching the 2nd floor, he saw there are only 3 classrooms. 6A, 7A, 8A. They walked to the end of the hallway and stood before 8A. The door is closed and there's no handle to open it. She knocked on the door twice. It was opened in the next second and he saw there's a middle-aged man with a thick beard, messy hair, and wearing jumpers. Yes, Miss Light. Amelia pointed to Azzy who was standing behind her, new student. So, this is the transfer student, huh? The teacher glanced at him and then, said leisurely while continuing to sit on his desk. Well, what are you waiting for? Come inside. As Azzy walked into the classroom, the teacher spoke to the students in a lazy tone, everyone, we got a new transfer student this year. He gestured to Azzy to introduce himself. Azzy turned towards the students and saw the classroom was spacious with a lot of desks. It has a couple of windows on the side to let the natural light shine into the room. Yet, there are too few students. Including himself there are a total of 7 students, making the classroom seems empty. Everyone sat separately, far from each other, and have this gloomy face except for one fellow with round glasses. His distant uncle/cousin from the Crescent clan. Azrael, Azzy introduced himself plainly. Anything else? Age, arcana, etc. Amelia probed him to introduce himself more. Usually, new students introduce their arcana when they introduce themselves first. If they don't want to show, at least, they will tell its name and grade. She just wants to hear from his mouth to confirm Herman's report. Too bad for her, the teacher quickly pours cold water on her excitement. Student, go, and take your seat. He spoke in a lazy tone once again. Azrael, here. Gideon waved his hand and gestured him to take the next seat. Azzy nodded to the teacher and sat beside Gideon. Well. Miss Light, if you leave the classroom, I'll continue my lecture. Chapter 26 Gideon as deskmate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. So, as I was saying, you are too young to care about things like reincarnation. It's hundreds of years far away. All of you should focus on the present. The teacher continued his lesson without enthusiasm. Everyone's feeling down because of orientation, Gideon whispered to Azzy, getting him to know the situation. He isn't helping much either. Azzy can't help agree with him. He felt like this homeroom teacher doesn't like his job. The teacher continued, anyway, let's move on to the important things. Since you are now upper-grade students, it's time for all of you to experience the level .2 region of the Arcana world. Next week, your trip is decided to the region of Nlethemar. You'll tag along with the 9th and 10th grade students of our division. Of course, the teachers will also be joining, just in case. Upon hearing the good news, the gloominess disappeared from everyone's face, although they can't help but curse this teacher in their minds listening to his grumble, it's such a hassle. What are we? Babysitters or something? Level .2 is essentially harmless to anyone above rank .4. Even rank .3 wouldn't necessarily be harmed that much if they encounter a monster. At most, their bones will get smashed. The school can heal them either way. The only one who agreed with the teacher is Azzy, although for a different reason. He thought the monsters in the level .2 region wouldn't make him stronger. For the past 3 months he stayed at Afia's mansion. He read many books that are available in the mansion to understand how Arcana world works. He doesn't know where this Nlethemar is, but if there's one thing he knows for sure, the strongest monster in a level .2 region is a rank .4. So, rank .4 monsters below gold grade will not help him much. A purple grade will barely suffice to improve his level. He has to pray that a higher grade monster was living in the region. Not to mention, it had to be a lightning attribute to improve Vitra. Or else, he can only look for a way to enter level .3 after becoming familiar with his current strength. After all, unlike others, he only has 15 years left to become a rank .7 and travel back to his timeline. If he doesn't, his identity will be altered forever. The teacher continued, there are 2 changes, all of you going to experience this year. First, a new combat class will be added. And second, there will be a card creation class. Since the school timetable can't fit additional 2 classes for everyone, they will be learned together with the higher grade students. So, basically, your school hours will end 90 minutes later than the others. Your timetable will be posted on the notice board later. Check it out in the break. Is there anything else? Nope, there's nothing else to remind. It's your first day. Feel free to do whatever you want. I'm going to take a nap in the meantime. As he went back to his seat, he took a card out of nowhere and threw it towards the door. A barrier formed over the door. Yawn, don't bother trying to sneak out. You can't. This lazy homeroom teacher slept with his head on the desk. As the rest of the 5 knew his personality very well, they long expected it and get busy with their self-study. As he saw everyone took out their textbooks. He took out his storage card that's bound to his soul and took out a grade .8 textbook he received from the school. Habitats of Monsters, the textbook was about the environments that each kind of monster stays. But, before he concentrates on the book, Gideon disturbed him with some useless information. Do you know that the Galarian beasts are often born in Nlethemar? As he asked while turning the pages in disinterest, what is a Galarian beast? You don't know. Gideon was taken aback. He then explained, the king of Nlethemar region is a Galarian. It is the only beast with a platinum grade. I read that it was originally a gold grade but mutated twice for some reason and rose to platinum grade. It was said that the overlord of the region is as strong as a mid-rank .6 Arcana Master. Azzy became interested as he never heard of such a strong beast that existed in the wild, and that too at a level .2 region. A platinum grade monster will definitely help his Vitra. He became excited for a second. Gideon continued, but no one has ever captured it. Very few claim that they battled the monster. I bet they are lying. Upon hearing his words, Azzy got irritated. He felt he was excited for no reason. Are all Crescent Clan members this annoying? Right then, Gideon gave out another piece of information. Still, rank .3 and rank .4 Galarian beasts are found in a few places. So, no need to search for the Galarian King. For rank .3 with lightning attribute Arcana Masters like me, it is one of the top choices to upgrade my Arcana and enter into rank .4. I only hope I don't face tough competition with other academies, this time. A lightning attribute, huh? I guess it's worth checking it out. Azzy already turned a deaf ear for his babbling and once again concentrated on the book until the bell rang. Until lunchtime, it wasn't much different from a regular academy. The students were taught subjects like mathematics, history, science, and their native language Orlan. Azzy, who didn't go to school for 4 years, didn't get a little bit of these advanced studies. If it wasn't because of the chatterbox sitting beside him, he might have already slept in the class. During the lunch period, he made friends with the rest of the class. As a high rank .4, he was welcomed by everyone except for Leonard Light. And by the time the lunch period is over, more than 2/3 of the students who tried to befriend him backed away. As a smart person, it wasn't hard for Azzy to figure out the reason. But, he didn't care about the treatment. He wasn't here to make friends either way. In the afternoon, the special classes started. The first class in the afternoon was a study of runes. Azzy was interested in the subject, remembering the runes on the awakening stone slab of their clan's founder. A lady entered the class. She was pretty, attracting the attention of all the boys in the class. Looking at the students, she smiled as she introduced herself, "I'm Exia. We will be spending this 1-hour time together for the next year. I hope we get along." "Ah. So beautiful." Gideon muttered under his breath as he stared at her in a daze. Azzy observed that the rest of the students are also in a daze, as if some spell has been cast on them. On other hand, Azzy, who spent a year with Evelyn, was completely immune to her charms, surprising the teacher a bit. Interesting kid. Her eyes lingered on Azzy for a couple of seconds before she deactivated the effect. "I guess all of you have basic knowledge about the runic alphabets, right?" Everyone except Azzy nodded their heads. She didn't mind his reaction and continued, "Since today is the first day, let's revise a few beginner topics." After all, everyone took 2 months of vacation. Azzy thought it was a good idea since he might be able to understand something this time. So, first of all, let's talk about the history of runic alphabets. I bet many of you heard of this story of the origin of the Arcana Masters. It was the time before the first epoch. Chapter 27, The World Before the Age of Arcana. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Before the first epoch started, everyone was a normal person without any soul power. There used to be 2 massive continents, one was in the east and one in the west. As for the Arcana world, it simply used to be a dry planet, revolving around the sun in adjacent orbit. Suddenly, our world was bombarded with some unidentified rocks from the sky. No one knows their origin. Their size is from the size of a fist to the size of this building. The small dot-sized ones made several craters while the big dot-sized ones created earthquakes. They weren't simple meteors that we know. Some of the people who were able to survive the disaster discovered strange characters engraved on it. Strangely, all the rocks have the same set of 24 characters. Exia then started to draw 24 runic alphabets on the whiteboard. Along with these strange characters, an enormous amount of energy was released into the surroundings, affecting everyone. That energy is called arcana energy. It is the wildest form of arcana that doesn't have any consciousness. The monsters in the arcana world possess this energy. Anyway, the humans and the animals unknowingly absorbed the arcana energy. But, the energy was too strong for them. More than 99% of the organisms who were affected by the energy turned into monsters, whether they are of the human race or the animals. The world went into chaos as they fight against each other. The humans who weren't affected by the energy were also caught up in the mess, and humanity went to the brink of extinction. At that moment, a god descended onto this world. Fire, earth, water, metal, lightning, and even time. Everything is under his control. One swing of his weapon killed the beasts that are considered rank 0.9. A snap of his finger stops the time or even reverses the time. He turned every beast into an infant and sent all of them into the adjacent planet of our solar system. He was also the one that merged the western and eastern continents to form a single massive continent that we are living in now. To make sure they won't escape the world, he placed a barrier over it. After saving the world, the god lived on a mountain for a while to take a rest. Some of the survivors asked him to accept them as his servants as a way of thanking him for saving their life, but the god simply replied, "The runic alphabets. Use them to form symbols," as he pointed at one of the nearby meteorites. No one wonders what happened to that god. Maybe, he returned to the celestial world. Following the order of the god, when our ancestors used these 24 runic alphabets to make runes, they discovered it wasn't just a symbol. It was power. It isn't exaggerating to say that these 24 runic alphabets are the origin to where we are now. Exia finished her introduction of the history of the runes. Every student was listening to her lesson very attentively. Even Azzy was no exception. Aside from her voice, when she started her lecture, Azzy felt as if he was trapped in an illusion. Despite being only a peak. Rank 0.5, her storytelling was even more powerful than Aunt Evelyn. Maybe, it's the power of her arcana, Azzy thought as he returned to his senses in the middle, and then continues to listen to the story in silence as if nothing happened. As for the others, they were still in an illusion until she snapped her finger and brought them back to reality. While everyone was being amazed for experiencing such a powerful illusion, Exia continued, "For the next 10 months, all of you will learn how to make intermediate runes and how to channel them to make your arcana stronger." Since Azzy was quite new to the subject and only heard of some useless history, he started to wonder how these runes work. The only runes he saw are the ones on the relic of the Death Clan. Forget about intermediate runes, he doesn't even know about the basic ones. Azzy thought he should hit the library once the school ends and spend there for 30 minutes to 1 hour. Since he is already staying at the school for additional 2 hours, he might as well spend an additional hour. As the bell rang, Exia started to walk towards the exit. Before she left, she glanced in the direction of Azzy, and then left the classroom while wondering, that kid can resist my charm as well as my voice even though there is a gap in our rank. Is he the one with platinum grade arcana? She doesn't know that it was nothing to do with his arcana at all. Azzy was only able to resist because of spending his time with a powerful charmer like Evelyn. Well, at least that was Azzy thought. After the runes class is finished, it's the time of theoretical combat lessons taught by a rank 0.6 arcana master, who is a popular figure in the academy. Everyone was excited to learn from this teacher. Soon, a person entered the class with a smile. Azzy was stunned as soon as saw the new teacher. He is a tall, bony man dressed in extravagant clothing, carrying a gold, ruby-eyed cobra-headed staff. He has a twisted, black goatee and a faint mustache, as well as gray eyeliner. Azzy went down into a memory lane and remembered a certain animated movie he saw when he was around 7 years old. The movie was about a poor man who obtains a magic lamp and frees a genie. He gains the wishes and marries the princess. But, this teacher doesn't look like a hero but seemed like an identical copy of the villain sorcerer. Strangely, even the weapon in his hand was also the same. Did they make the film, taking him as a model? As he can't help but have useless distracting thoughts, but then, as he tried to gauge his power, he was surprised. I can't sense his level. It wasn't as strong as Avia or Evelyn, but it was much stronger than Grandpa. Is he a high or peak? Rank 6. Meanwhile, the other 6 students were also taken aback, immediately judged him for his looks. He looks like a greedy merchant from every angle, Gideon suddenly whispered in his ear. The next second, the smile on the new teacher is vanished and is replaced by a frown and looked at Gideon, sharply. Eek. Gideon quickly lowered his head and closed his mouth. As he shook his head with a sigh, this fool. Doesn't he know that if a rank .6 tries hard enough, they can even hear the whisper from a kilometer, much less from a 5-yard distance? Hello, I'm Afiar, a sorcerer. He introduced himself to the class. As today's the first day, I'll give a live demonstration of the subject. He then raised the staff in his hand. As he saw the cobra's eyes blinked in red and a smile appeared on this sorcerer's face. Everyone gulped in fear, looking at his wicked smile. All of a sudden, their surroundings changed. Azzy and the other found themselves on an island, except that it isn't a simple island that was surrounded by water. They were surrounded by lava. Azzy and the other 6 students felt hot under his feet, but they have no time to care about such a thing because there's a large maroon-colored monster with spikes all over its back was walking towards the island. Chapter 28 Battle Against the Lava Beast Part. 1 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Splash splash asterisk The lava is being splashed as a maroon-colored monster was walking towards the island with students. It was maroon in color and has black spikes all over its back. Its eyes are golden and finally, there's a hoop over its head. Meanwhile, the teacher isn't seen to be present with them. The students were scared stiff for a few seconds before taking out their arcana as a reflex. After all, they aren't some sheltered brats who grow up in a greenhouse. They fought the beasts in Arcana World several times to improve their strength, albeit only weak ones. As he saw their arcana. Gideon has a sword in his hands. Sparks can be seen all over it. A gold grade huh. As expected of Crescent Clan. As he thought as he felt the intensity released by the lightning sword. Other than the sword, as he only found one more arcana with a gold grade. It was an orange dog with beige fur over its head and the tail. It also has black stripes on its back. He can see little bits of fire near its mouth as it breathes. As the strongest arcana in the bunch, it stepped forward and stood before everyone, baring its teeth at the incoming enemy. Meanwhile, Azzy wasn't in a hurry to summon his arcana. He was completely calm, looking at this rank .4 beast, well, at least on the outside. Inside, he was more nervous than them since he never fought a real beast in the wild. This is Volcanus, a lava attribute beast that was majorly found in volcano regions. Suddenly, they heard the voice of their teacher in the surroundings. As he glanced around everywhere but wasn't able to find this Jafar of Aladdin. The voice continued, currently all of you are trapped in a memory of mine. But, don't need to fear. Even if you die, you'll resurrect on the spot since your true body is still resting in the classroom. It was only after hearing his words the students understood that their souls are probably trapped in an illusion. As he also came to the same conclusion. A sorcerer, huh? All of a sudden, the surroundings froze. The students saw the monster stood there like a statue. Just then, the teacher spoke, now, in front of you, there's a monster of high level rank .4 of gold grade. It is a lava attribute beast. That means it is mixed with fire and earth elements. Now all of you must have already known about the relation between the elements. Fire is strong against wind but weak against water. It has resistance to lightning. Earth is strong against water but weak against lightning. It has resistance to fire. Now, what will be the lava attribute's weakness and strengths are? Can anyone say? Gideon quickly answered, it is strong against wind, however with no weaknesses. It's also resistant to lightning and fire. Yup. That's right. The teacher accepted his answer, so, that means, if you have arcana with either pure wind, lightning or fire, you should understand that the battle will be very difficult unless you are of above rank. So, that means, those who have water and earth attribute arcana or at least soul skills of such attributes, if their arcana is an advanced element, they will have an advantage in this battle. They should be the ones to deal with damage to the monster. As for wind attribute arcana masters, they should just act as support unless it's necessary. This is how you win a battle. Okay, let's put this knowledge into action. All 7 of you are trapped on an island. If you step on the lava, you die. You have but 2 options. One is to wait for the monster to reach you and defend yourselves. The second is to somehow escape from the island and reach the land, and then, confront it there. You are 7. The monster is 1. I'll give you 5 minutes of preparations. Choose a leader, assign the roles, make a plan and, see if the strategy works. Good luck. They looked at each other for a second before turning their heads towards Azzy. Won't you take out your arcana? One of them asked. Azzy heard from Gideon that this boy named Lark was continuously elected as the class monitor from grade .5 to grade .7. Before Azzy replied, another boy supported the young master of the Sandra family. It is one of the small noble families of the nation. Lark is right. We only have 5 minutes. Hurry up and summon your arcana so that we can form a strategy on how to cooperate. Azzy summoned his soul card and then, summoned the Black Wolf. Except for the 2 gold grade arcana, the remaining 4 quickly disappeared from the spot without their owner's permission. Clearly, they ran away. A look of shock appeared on them. Meanwhile, Lark and Gideon were also stunned to see a beast that's giving off a strong intensity. They felt, their arcana were barely holding on, in its presence. The rest of them weren't able to sense its power. For people like them who are at the bottom of the stairs, whether their focus is at the 1000 step or the 10,000 step, both will look the same. One more person was stunned as he was peeking at this memory world. It isn't a gold grade. A platinum grade arcana. This is why I didn't summon my Vitra. Azzy let out a comment before unsummoning it back to the soul card. Looking at them, he further said, I'll have to stay as a support if we have to work together. Gideon nodded in response, since this is just a kind of simulation, not a real battle, it would be wise to do as Azrael says. Lark, the plan. Without even discussing, everyone just assumed Lark as their leader. It wasn't because he was the strongest. After all, excluding Azzy, there are 2 more people whose soul power is higher than this low rank .4. Except for the 2, the remaining 4 were classmates since they were admitted into the academy. Obviously, they have more trust in Lark. Okay, based on the arcana's attribute, we are certainly at a disadvantage since none of us have water or earth attribute skills. Either way, it doesn't matter. Okay, we will follow the same pattern as last year's annual test. My Oscar and I will take care of its attention. Gideon, your lightning sword has the strongest attack, right now. So, I'll leave the killing on your hands. The rest of you will support him by shielding the monster's attacks that are directed towards him, and clear the obstacles so that his attack will land on the monsters. Is this even a plan? Azzy wondered whether there was something wrong with his head. He was baffled to hear that they followed this plan several times. Even a beginner like me knew that a rank .4 beast is different from the previous ranks. Moreover, Gideon's not even a rank .4. Chapter 29 Battle Against the Lava Beast Part .2 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Your 5 minutes are up. The teacher's voice echoed in the surroundings followed by the resume of time around them. Roar the beast roared as it continued to walk towards them. While everyone was ready with their arcana, Azzy, on the other hand, observed its feet that didn't sink much in the lava. The depth of this lava lake is only like a ft or two. So, I just need to take care of my legs in case I fall. But, I wonder. As he then looked at his hands, if my fist can work. Since he can't use his arcana, which scares away other arcana, and because they are in the illusionary realm, he can't even bring out a storage card either. The only option left for Azzy to fight is through fists. Through training at the place with higher gravity, his physical strength is a lot stronger than his peers, but since he never used it in a spar, even Azzy didn't know how much strength he possesses, right now. He wanted to test himself with the beast. It was another reason, he unsummoned the Black Wolf. The beast slowly walked towards them. Lark told everyone to move back, right to the edge of the island, and wait until the beast steps on the island. As per his plan, they waited until the beast stepped onto the island. Oscar, use flamethrower. Wow, it barked before dashing forward to get into the range and breathe out a stream of fire and hit Volcanus. Due to being resistant to fire, it felt nothing other than just feeling burning up all over its skin. Roar, it roared once again. As the tiger-striped dog successfully grabbed its attention, it moved to a different location, away from the rest of them. Lark then gave an order, Gideon, you are up. Make sure to avoid those spikes. He glanced at the spikes on its back. Yeah, I know, Gideon nodded. Then, as he glanced at the beast once again, he saw a peculiar action of the beast. While moving, he saw it was moving its head, retracting its neck and then, elongating it. He mumbled, the neck seems to be its most vulnerable part. As he shook his head as he thought, not exactly. A monster's vulnerable part is always its eyes as long as it isn't a rank 0.7 or above. Charge. After giving out an order, Lark went after his dog while the rest of them charged forward towards the beast that exposed its back to them. Azzy followed them from behind. In the next second, the classmates before him disappeared. Whoa! To his surprise, he heard the exclaims from behind. Only then, as he realized when he pushed his leg against the ground and dashed forward, he already passed them and covered half of the distance to the beast. As he himself was surprised at how light he felt in this ordinary gravity environment. Without waiting for the rest to catch up, he clenched his fist as he dashed towards the monster again, intending to injure the monster so that it would be easier for the rest of them to attack. What is he doing? Lark halted for a second before dodging the attack of the fire blast from the beast. Quickly reaching the beast, as he used his soul power on the feet to jump high in the air. Once again, he used too much of his strength and jumped a bit too high. As he was falling, Azzy raised his leg and tried to land a kick on its head. Volcanus felt a chill on its neck all of a sudden. The beast spun around itself like a tornado and pushed away Lark and his doggy while dodging the attack just in the nick of time. Bam! As his kick missed the target and hit the ground, cracks appeared everywhere before it was destroyed into dozens of tiny floating rocks. The beast lost its balance and fell into the lava, splashing the lava onto everyone around. As a result, 5 of them are unable to escape the crisis. Other than Azzy, only Lark and his doggy managed to get away with it as they received the minimum impact. Meanwhile, Azzy's legs are submerged under the lava lake. But he felt nothing at the moment as the soul energy that flowing through his legs is currently nullifying the heat. Oops. I used too much strength. Azzy can't help but feel apologetic to his classmates, but due to having a blank expression on his face, Lark went into a rage. What have you done? I missed the target and the ground was too weak to withhold the attack. Azzy blankly answered him. I don't mean that. Lark's anger further deepened by his reply, you are supposed to support Gideon. But Gideon is a rank 0.3 with a lightning attribute arcana. How can he face a high rank 0.4 beast? Azzy once again spoke in a flat tone as if he was implying that his plan is stupid. You. Lark's body shook in anger as Azzy didn't even apologize for the mistake he caused. Not only he didn't follow the order and went on his own, but also caused the death of his teammates. If this is a real world, he would be a dangerous teammate. Meanwhile, the monster stood up on its 4 legs. Without wasting the time or soul power on his legs, Azzy dashed forward towards it. Looking at the boy coming towards it, the beast felt danger and it immediately used its strongest skill, Earth Dome. Molten rocks below the lava rose and formed a large dome over the beast. Lark was taken aback, seeing it from far. The monster is going on the defensive. Azzy clenched his fist and punched the Earth Dome, gathering the soul energy into his hands. All of his soul power is consumed at the instant while the dome was blasted into a speck of dust particles. There wasn't even a trace of the monster inside of it. Azzy was stunned at the moment, getting a glimpse of his strength. This is my strength. Suddenly, the surroundings before him changed to the classroom and he found the others are sleeping with their heads on their respective desks. He also felt that his soul power is also full. He felt strange about it, considering his soul power emptied just a moment ago. You are Azrael, right? A voice brought him out of his thoughts. In front of him, Azzy saw the teacher was staring at him with his eyes widened in shock. The teacher asked, the one who defeated Instructor Herman's golem. Azzy nodded in response, yes. The teacher then continued, you are too strong and your control is also too weak. You might accidentally kill the students if I let you spar against anyone. At the moment, it is better if you don't cooperate with your teammates and rather work on control. I have the perfect training route for you. But, first, let me test the limits of your strength. The eyes of his cobra staff once again glowed in red and he lost his consciousness. Azzy found alone on the grassland of some unknown place. Before him, instead of a beast, Azzy saw a man in black armor from top to bottom. Even his face was covered by the helmet. Azzy wasn't able to gauge his strength, indicating that his rank is higher. The man before you is an enemy I fought and killed back when I was a 10th grade student. He's a mid-rank .5 Arcana Master and also a swordsman. Fight against him with all of your strength without using your Arcana. As the time in the surroundings is unfrozen, Azzy thought, this teacher has some unique soul skill. Throwing an opponent into memories and let him fight against the monster or a person. There must be a condition to achieve this, right? Or else, this would be a cheating ability. Or maybe, because I'm a lower rank, I was pulled into that illusionary realm. His thoughts are interrupted by the sudden movement of the man in the armor. He dashed forward towards him and tried to slash him with the sword. Ha! For some reason, Azzy felt everything in a slowed-up motion and he was able to see the sword and his movements clearly. Azzy dodged to the side and gave a solid punch to the chest while pouring the soul power into his fist. This time, he tried to control the amount and was able to stop the rapid absorption of soul power. This time, only around 51,000 amount of soul power is absorbed, leaving him with 26,000 or so. Bam! But he wasn't in a mood to care about it as the armor cracked as soon as his punch landed on the man. The man fell on his back on the spot. What the? Sorcerer Afiar almost lost his balance because of the shock and tightly grabbed the desk. Azzy was also stunned on the spot as he returned to the classroom. Looks like the Proto's energy improved your body's constitution. No, it leveled up entirely. The Reaper's voice rang in his head. Your physical body currently has the strength of a high-rank .5 Arcana Master. Chapter 30 Power Overload. Once again you are listening at NovelFull.audio. Proto's energy. High-rank .5 physical strength. Azzy was shocked to hear the Reaper's statement. He was scared of how strong he might really be if he were to go all out. He thought he might contend even against rank .6 Arcana Masters easily. Most people would be happy with such strength, but Azzy was terrified at the moment. He knew how bad his control is. He suddenly grew too strong and didn't know how to deal with it. The situation might be a blessing in a place like Death Clan that has so many experts, but in an academy like this, he was especially scared that he will kill someone accidentally in a spar. You said you can help me with controlling my strength, right? Azzy then turned to the teacher. How? Alfiar came out of his daze and looked at this monster. Immediately, a grin appeared on his face as he stroked the cobra's head. It's very simple actually. Off you go. He used the same soul skill again, and this time Azzy was transported to a beautiful place. There were two waterfalls on the opposite of the cliffs with a rainbow appearing between them. The lake formed by those waterfalls was calm and still. Azzy sensed a monster, sleeping on the bed of the lake. A low rank .4. He mumbled. Yes. It is. The voice resounded in the surroundings. Your task is to engage in a fight but not kill it. Your punches and kicks should contain soul energy. Until you were able to punch with a strength of only rank .2, your training partner will be this beast. Azzy moved to the lake and stood on the shore, but it seemed like the beast didn't sense him yet. So, it continued to sleep. Closing his eyes, he released his aura, an ability that lets you pressure lower rank arcana masters or beasts. To not scare it away, Azzy retracted his aura after a second. And just as he expected, a giant snake rose from the lake. Azzy recognized the beast in one glance even though he never saw it in person or the picture. It is because of the unique feature, 3 heads. He remembers the old Avia mentioned that multi-headed snakes are the descendants of the legendary rank .10 beast, Hydra. The higher the rank, the higher the number of their heads. One of the unique abilities of such a beast is that each head represents an element. It was also clear to Azzy about it since he can point out which head is which element by the color of the head. Red, green, and brown. That means, fire, wind, and earth. The impatient red-colored head didn't even waste time as soon as it found the prey. It breathes out a beam of fire towards him. Azzy's eyes clearly captured their path and he stepped aside to dodge the flames. He concentrated on pouring down the soul power to his legs. The soul energy quickly seeped out of the soul orb and hurried to its destination, the 2 feet. Once again, more than 2/3 RDS of the soul power was diminished, boosting the strength of his legs by an unimaginable amount as he jumped dozens of meters high in the air. The 3-headed snake raised its head and glanced at the sky. The green head hissed, implying that it will take charge of this move. Azzy, who reached the peak, began to fall at an extreme speed, but he wasn't concerned about that and concentrated on using soul power in his fist. Once again, the remaining soul power was emptied in an instant as he failed to control the amount. As he can't do anything about it, he decided to punch lightly. Just then, he felt a powerful wind coming towards him in the form of a tornado. In the eye of the formation lies the 3-headed snake with its green head was releasing the skill. As he was hit by the tornado, Azzy's first thought was, it was weak. But, then, he realized the might of the skill. Even though it didn't do the slightest of the damage to Azzy, the latter was still affected by it and now, was no longer falling down directly but was moving in a spiral path along with the wind. Hissed the redhead hissed angrily and breathes out fire into the tornado, forming a fire tornado. Azzy tried to move his hands and legs but he fails to escape from the fire tornado. His body temperature rose, and his skin started to burn lightly except for his feet and the right arm. Ugh! Azzy groaned in pain for the first time since he arrived at this timeline. He got the urge to summon his arcana but hold back himself, trying to get out of the situation with force. Right then, he heard the voice of the Reaper in his head. Soul energy won't disappear as long as it's your body. Soul orb or some organ, the soul energy will always be alive unless you use it on external things. Direct the excess soul energy of your feet back to the soul orb. Arg! He groaned once again as his clothes turned into ash, and his upper body that keeps on getting burned was turning slowly into charcoal. Soul orb. How? Azzy roared inside his head. Forget about it. I'll tell you later. For now, redirect them to all the body parts instead. Just like how concentrated on your fist when you redirect the soul energy, you concentrate on your whole body, now. Forgetting the pain on the outside, as he closed his eyes and concentrated on his right arm and the legs, and located the energy. He tried to redirect some of it to the other organ. A gush of soul energy from his legs was spread to the heart and lungs. He once again diverted some of it towards the bones. Time slowly passed. As he no longer felt pain even though he was still moving along with the fire tornado. As he opened his eyes, he saw his entire upper body until the neck turned to charcoal. Thankfully, his lower body was fine with pants still intact, or else he will be embarrassed to death. After all, there's someone who was peeking from above, and as someone who was going through puberty, he felt disgusted about that even in his imagination. The Reaper's voice disrupted his thoughts. Good, now, you should concentrate on how to expel the soul energy from your body to outside to become free. Expelling is quite easy. If I should say in human terms, think of how you expel the waste from your body when you have constipation or when a mother gives natural birth to a baby. Just force the energy out. Remember, it must be at once. Only, then, it will work. Following his advice, as he concentrated on the soul energy that was distributed all over his body. Just like the Reaper said, it is indeed a bit similar to it. However, the image in Azzy's head was quite different. Since he never had constipation and doesn't know how the other situation feels like either, he imagined himself in his own room surrounded by walls except that there's no door. He then imagined the walls are shrinking with each second. The person inside is the soul energy and the walls are the human body. Arg! He roared and let the soul energy that was lingering in his body expel out. Suddenly, an enormous amount of dark energy was erupted from his body and hit the tornado and all the surroundings. The three-headed snake shivered for a second as it sensed the mixed energy of Protos and death. Then, as he opened his eyes as he felt like he was falling towards the lake but he sensed no soul power inside him. Thud, he fell to the ground and made a small crater. Ugh! As he groaned in pain as he stood up. He felt aching all over his body, but that's it. Just as he looked around, he saw the lake disappeared along with the monster. The grass and the trees around him were pitch black. What was that? Uthiar, who was watching it from above, felt like his heart shook for a second.